Long before the British set their sights on West Africa, there stood a kingdom of extraordinary power, wealth, and artistry. A kingdom so advanced, so organized, and so magnificent that when the British finally laid eyes on it, they were stunned. This was not the Africa they expected to see. This was Benin. The Benin Kingdom, rooted deep in the forest of present-day southern Nigeria, was no ordinary society. By the 13th century, it had risen into one of Africa's most sophisticated civilizations. At its center stood the great city of Benin, the capital, home to the Oba, the divine king whose authority radiated across the land. Benin was more than a city. It was a masterpiece. British explorers who arrived centuries later could hardly believe their eyes. The city was laid out with precise planning, broad streets that stretched straight for miles, lined with houses, markets, and palaces. Its walls and moats extended for thousands of kilometers, a system so vast that today archaeologists compare it to the Great Wall of China. But unlike walls built of stone, these defenses were crafted from earth, shaped with such skill that they withstood centuries of time. Within these walls, the kingdom flourished. Its people were traders, warriors, artists, and diplomats. At the heart of Benin's identity was its art. The famous Benin Bronzes, breathtaking sculptures cast from brass and bronze, captured the kingdom's history, its kings, its rituals, and its victories. Each piece was more than decoration. It was a record, a memory cast in metal, telling the story of Benin in ways no paper ever could. These works stunned the Europeans who eventually looted them, because their artistry rivaled, and in some ways surpassed, Europe's own traditions. How could a so-called savage land produce works of such refinement? That question alone shook the arrogance of empire. But Benin's strength was not only in its art. The kingdom was a military power, its warriors disciplined, its strategies feared. The Oba commanded absolute loyalty. His armies defended the realm, expanded its borders, and protected its trade. For centuries, Benin dealt with European traders on its own terms. The Portuguese came first, drawn by ivory, pepper, and later, the transatlantic slave trade. Benin controlled what was exchanged. The Oba permitted trade when it suited his kingdom, and he closed the gates when it did not. For generations, Benin remained independent, proud, and secure. But by the 19th century, the British Empire, hungry for control of Africa's resources, set its sights on Benin. Palm oil, ivory, and trade routes were too valuable to leave in the hands of an African king. Britain demanded free access, but Benin resisted. The kingdom was not to be bullied. This defiance angered the empire. And so, in 1897, the British struck. Officially, they called it a punitive expedition. In reality, it was a calculated invasion. British troops marched into Benin under the cover of diplomacy, but when negotiations broke down, the attack was unleashed. The city burned. The people resisted with unmatched courage, but the British had superior weapons, machine guns against spears and muskets. The capital was looted, its treasure stolen, its palaces reduced to ash. The Oba, Ovanramwen Nogbesai, was exiled. The kingdom's glory was torn apart, its artifacts shipped off to museums in London, Berlin, and beyond. Yet even in defeat, the British were forced to admit the truth. Benin was not primitive. It was not backward. It was a civilization of brilliance, with art, governance, and achievements that rivaled the best of Europe. The empire had destroyed Benin, but in doing so, it revealed to the world just how advanced Africa truly was. Today, the Benin Bronzes sit in glass cases thousands of miles from the land that gave them birth. They are reminders of both beauty and brutality, symbols of cultural achievement and of colonial theft. Scholars continue to study the kingdom's walls, its legacy, its survival. And the descendants of Benin still honor the Oba, still tell the stories, still carry the pride of a kingdom that once shocked the British Empire. The story of Benin is not just about conquest and loss. It is about resilience. It is about a people whose history cannot be erased, no matter how many treasures were stolen, no matter how many lies were told. The empire that shocked the British still echoes today. And its greatness, though scarred, remains immortal. These are the echoes of our history, stories of struggle, triumph, and resilience. Subscribe to Echoes of Nigeria, and together, let's keep our heritage alive for generations to come.